TBC News, our top stories. Tanzania's aviation dominance progressively strong. Zero malaria, Tanzania remains achievable.
Tanzania also can. Other African countries also can eliminate malaria.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kanki Mwaigomole. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. The Prime Minister, Kassim Majaliwa, says that President Samia Suluhu Hassan is turning the air transport industry into one of the major engines of the economy, following Air Tanzania expanding its fleet to 14 with the arrival of a second Boeing 737-9 MAX aircraft. Peter Mganga has more.
Another history is being written in Tanzania's air transport industry. In the afternoon, the new Boeing 737-9 MAX aircraft lands at Julius Nyerere International Airport in Dar es Salaam City. Celebrating the occasion, the government elaborates the strategies in place to boost the air transport industry.
The sixth phase of the government recognizes the importance of the transportation industry in the economic growth and has continued to implement what was done in the previous phase of the government by making various efforts to improve this sector in order for it to continue to be an engine of the economic progress in our nation. This can be seen by improvement in laws, policies, and regulations, and work performance in the aviation sectors, water transportation, railway, and land transportation.
On the other hand, Engineer Ladislausi Matindi, who is the ATCL Executive Director, says his company is strategically ready to capitalize on the expanded fleet.
We are expanding our fleet. We are reaching now 15 aircraft, and soon we'll get the other one to reach 16. And the idea, as I said, it's all like a facilitation to make sure that we can implement our business plan. Not only that, there's a lot of all other a very big demand in the market, and that's why you see we are expanding. We have to compete. When you compete, you have to offer what the market is expecting. So Air Tanzania, with a brand new aircraft, state-of-the-art, very comfortable, we believe will be a very big force in the market as far as air transport is concerned, not only for the local market, but also for the regional market and the international market.
Furthermore, some government leaders who were here at the airport to receive the aircraft had the opportunity to board the plane and thereafter express their opinions.
I'm very sure, given the speed of the sixth phase government and the strategies which I see, Air Tanzania is going to be one of the largest carriers in sub-Saharan Africa in the few years to come, not even 5 years, not 10 years. We are talking of 2-3 years to come if we continue like this.
For the first time now, we have about 15 planes, and I'm happy.
This is the massive reforms in the transport sector under the leadership of President Samia Suluhu Hassan, while 181 passengers are expected to travel on this Boeing 737-9 MAX. Reporting from Julius Nyerere International Airport, where ATCL has landed safely in Dar es Salaam, I'm Peter Mganga from TBC News.
Based on how the industry is continuously evolving to meet the demands of a changing world, we are joined by Ladislaus Matindi, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Air Tanzania Company Limited, talking to my colleague Teddy Mparanyanga.
Thank you so much, Kanki Mwaigomole. Good evening. In the 3 years of President Samia in power, billions of money have been used to purchase now 14 planes. How is this business doing?
Our business is doing well. I think from the output, it shows itself that we are progressing. The company has been growing. The company has been doing good. As you remember, the way we started and where we are now, two different companies. We started with a company which was trying to get into the market. Now we have the company which is competing in the market. So this, and when you see our figures and numbers, they tell by themselves that we are moving forward. And this, I'm talking on the number of aircraft. The company which started from zero and now they have 15 aircraft. As you are aware, today we received our 15th aircraft and we're expecting one more, so it will be the 16th. So you can see, and this fleet is in different categories, from the small to a medium to the big widebody. With the expansion of the fleet, there is an increase of passengers. There is expansion of our route network. There is expansion of cargo. There's increase of cargo. So these are the numbers or indicators which show that the company is moving forward and is moving forward efficiently. In the ever-changing landscape of the Tanzania aviation industry, how much has Air Tanzania managed to regain its pre-pandemic pace and new challenges? Yeah, you see, Air Tanzania, when it came in, there were, I can say, competition was really not that big because the operator were confined to a few stations, operating, I think, not more than 5-6 stations or destinations. As I'm speaking now, we have 15 destinations inside the country, and we have almost 9 to 10 stations outside the country. Now you can see that we have been growing. Not only we have been growing, we have stimulated. We have stimulated the air transport market in Tanzania. Mwanza, which used to have one frequency a day, we are talking now of, from Air Tanzania perspective, 4 frequencies a day. Then there are other operators who are operating also to the same destination. Look at Dodoma, look at Tabora, Mpanda. I'm talking of Songea, Bukoba. All these stations which really have came in because of the emergence of Air Tanzania. And lastly, how has the latest purchase put Tanzania in the continental and global aviation map? No, we are already there. Everybody's talking about Air Tanzania. It's not just this purchase. Everybody is looking at Air Tanzania like a serious player in the air transport market. And you can see some routes which had before considered a stronghold of Kenya Airways. Now Air Tanzania is competing with them heads on. You know, this is a destination which were used or taken as Ethiopia Airways stronghold. Air Tanzania is competing now with Ethiopia Airways head-on. I'm talking of Lubumbashi, I'm talking of Lusaka, I'm talking of Harare, Komoro. These are destinations where before it was, you know, Ethiopia, Ethiopia, Ethiopia. Today, Ethiopia is competing with Air Tanzania. We have a very good share in this market, and I think this is the share which we are taking from Ethiopia Airways. So you can see, we are not just coming in because of this latest acquisition, but it's a continuing airline. It's an airline now which is now really establishing itself as a serious player in the air transport market in Africa. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Back to you, Kanki Magumole.
The former president of Tanzania and member of the Global End Malaria Council, Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, says firm leadership, sufficient funding and relevant technology plays a crucial role to speed up the fight against malaria and enable the country to achieve total eradication of the disease in the country. Maria Mubiru has more.
It is the ordinary meeting of the members of the End Malaria Council in Tanzania, discussing how far the country has reached in the fight against the disease. And here, Dr. Kikwete urges the council to take the lead in ensuring Tanzania is declared malaria-free.
In the End Malaria Council, we want to go beyond control to elimination, to eradication. So we are saying 43 countries in the world today are malaria-free. At some point in history, they have been having malaria. but they've been able to eradicate malaria. And 3 African countries are among those countries. We have Mauritius that eliminated malaria since 1973. Algeria was declared malaria-free 2019. Also, we have recently Cape Verde. So I believe if these countries have been able to eliminate malaria, Tanzania also can. Other African countries also can eliminate malaria.
On the other hand, the managing director of the National Malaria Control Program, Dr. Lazaro Samuel, said that some people still have misconceptions on the use of treated mosquito nets, and the efforts are undertaken to educate the society.
Misconceptions are usually part and parcel of the community because you cannot have the right information to all the community members. So at the ministry level, and in particular at the program level, we have a special unit for community advocacy, and the key roles for the said unit is to make sure that they advocate to the community in order to have in order for the community to have a positive uptake to all the malaria interventions that we are deploying to the community. So yes, there have been a misconception around our interventions, but always we have been making sure that we advocate so that the community have a positive uptake toward the intervention that we are deploying, including the use of LLINs.
Furthermore, the End Malaria Council advisor Stephen Rook urges both parties to be committed in the execution of the plans so as to make Tanzania become a zero malaria country.
Ending malaria will require a multi-sectoral response. It requires commitments from governments, from the private sector, from civil society, and from the community. And that starts at the head of state all the way down to the family level. And so we're very excited about these End Malaria councils and funds because they provide an opportunity to convene senior business leaders, government officials, as well as religious and other traditional leaders to do advocacy and resource mobilization to support the National Malaria Program. The National Malaria Program has a great strategy for achieving the target of eliminating malaria, but
malaria is the leading cause of death here in Tanzania, and the majority affected are the children under 5 years old. This is unacceptable, considering the fact that malaria can be prevented and cured. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, this is Maria Mubiru, TBC News.
The Executive Director of Jakaya Kikwete Heart Institute, Dr. Peter Kisenge, says a total of 361,961 patients, 331,557 adults and 30,337 children have been treated in a period of 3 years at the Institute. He was addressing journalists in Dar es Salaam on the achievements of the Institute in 3 years of the leadership of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. Here are more details.
Dr. Kisenge says the Institute has also treated 316 patients from Somalia, Malawi, Kenya, Rwanda, Comoro Islands, Mozambique, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda, Congo, Ethiopia, Burundi, and others from outside Africa, including Armenia, China, Germany, India, Norway, France, and England. He says the patients who underwent standard open heart surgery, coronary artery bypass surgery, blood vessel and lung surgery were 2,161. Of those people, there were 1,257 adults and 904 children. The executive director, who is also a cardiologist, says through the cath lab plant, which is a laboratory for the diagnosis and treatment of heart diseases that uses special radiation, 6,260 patients received the medical care, of whom 5,693 are adults and 567 are children. Speaking about the treatment services known as Samia Suluhu Hassan Outreach Services, Dr. Kisenge says the treatment have been issued in 13 regions, whereby 11,254 people were screened. Of those, 4,000 6,643 were diagnosed with various heart problems and started treatment. 1,378 patients were diagnosed with problems but required specialist treatment and were referred to JKCI for examination and further treatment. The specialists of the institute also crossed the borders to other countries like Zambia and Malawi to offer heart treatment services in the countries where about 731 patients received treatment.
The private sector foundation TPSF urges the government to ensure that the 2050 development agenda should give fair focus on innovation and technology to enable domestic and foreign businesses to invest in research and reach new levels of efficiency and international commercial competition. Here are more details.
The call has been made in Dar es Salaam by the Chief Executive Officer of TPSF, Rafael Maganga, during a discussion session bringing together the private sector and representatives from the 2050 Development Vision Planning Committee, aiming at evaluating the private sector recommendations that will be incorporated in the 2050 Development Vision. He insists the 2025 Development Vision, which is expected to come to an end in 2026, has shown promising results, although the country needs to do more to ensure 8% growth to improve the lives of Tanzanians.
We face a lot of challenges when it comes to climate change. So we want Vision 2050 to be able to have the policies in place to ensure that we have very resilient private sector that is resilient to any shocks, be it geopolitical shocks, be it environmental shocks, shocks that can we can sustain those shocks to grow our businesses, but also to have a very inclusive Vision 2050, where youth and women participate more effectively in advancing our economy.
We are talking of emerging of new value chains or emerging value chains, such as rare earth minerals, AV battery industries. These are some of the things that we are blessed in terms of endowment, but to what extent are we prioritizing, strategizing to explore them, add value locally, and export them while finished, so that we also link this to jobs.
On the other hand, the Director of Planning from the Planning Commission, Morsali Milanzi, says despite the success stories of the 2025 Development Vision, the vision also faced with global challenges, including climate change, COVID-19, and wars that caused economic recession worldwide.
We have implemented Vision 2025 successfully. As you understand that our country is has graduated to middle income, as lower level, but now we want that the Vision 2050 would take us from there to the level where we think it will benefit all Tanzanians. So we aspire to become a country for higher income, where poverty will be reduced significantly, social services will be improved, and other services that are provided by the country are going to improve significantly.
The Chinese ambassador to Tanzania, Sheng Mingzhang, says the bilateral relations between Tanzania and China remain strong and mutually benefiting. She made the remarks while receiving 45 Fleet of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy ahead of celebrating 60th diplomatic ties between China and Tanzania. The People's Liberation Army Navy is expected to conduct a 5-day visit, which will include visiting the cemetery for the memorable deceased Chinese experts assisting Tanzania, of which the navies of the two sides will participate in the joint activities.
Our relationship is solid and our cooperation is close, and this kind of cooperation can go far beyond the surface. And the military to military cooperation, we have the personnel training, we have the military base construction, and we have the aid from China to help Tanzania People's Defense Forces to reach the modernization process.
Furthermore, Ambassador Ming Zhang says China will soon announce the year of tourism and culture, where the celebrations are to be held in China.
Two heads of state will exchange the congratulatory letter right on the day we establish our diplomatic relations. And we arrange the high-level visit, such as the Chinese Vice Premier Liu Guozhong visited Tanzania in January, which kicked off the high-level visit and exchange for this year. And for political and diplomatic level, we are going to have the commemorative and celebrative reception next month. And for the tourism and cultural event, we will have the celebration in China to announce the beginning of the year for tourism and culture.
Meanwhile, on behalf of Chief of the Tanzanian People's Defense Force, General Jacob Mkunda, Rear Admiral Amir Ramadan Hassan, the Tanzanian Navy commander highlights the benefits of the Tanzania-China relationship.
There has been mutual support from each side in the national and international for mutual benefit. Tanzania has benefited a lot in several areas, cooperation, some of which are remarkable, living until today. For example, the construction of Tanzania and Zambia Railway, Tazara. Not only that, but also the establishment of the first Tanzania Navy. It was in 1969, and a remarkable contribution of establishment of Tanzania Marine Special Post in TPDF.
The 60th diplomatic anniversary reception is due to be held in mid-April this year, of which the date will be communicated by the Chinese embassy. Before we wind up our local news for tonight, let's now take a look at the exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania. And here's the international news as compiled by Ramadan Impenda and read to you by Bakarim Suya.
Senegal's President-elect Bashir Faye has pledged to govern with humility and transparency in his first speech after Sunday's poll. Mr. Faye's main rival from the governing coalition, Amadou Ba, has already conceded defeat, setting the stage for the 44-year-old politician to become the youngest president in Senegal's history. Speaking before the media, Mr. Faye said by electing him, the Senegalese people have chosen to break from the past. Mr. Faye added that one of his many priorities as president will be national reconciliation following 3 years of unrest and political crisis in the country. He also vowed to fight corruption at every level, rebuild institutions and tackle the cost of living crisis. Mr. Faye thanked the outgoing President Macky Sall for helping to conduct a successful poll. The Constitutional Council is yet to officially announce the final results, but their celebration across the country. The provisional results puts Mr. Faye in a strong lead with about 53.7% and Mr. Ba with 36.2%. His victory comes less than 2 weeks after he was released from jail. Rwanda's lower house of parliament has passed a bill that proposes stricter regulations to protect the forest in the country. The bill forbids the harvesting, use, and trade of immature trees. It additionally requires Rwandans to obtain permits from authorities before cutting any trees, including privately planted ones. The bill also proposes harsher penalties for those who cut trees before they mature or without a license, with fines of up to $2,300. Also, the law aims to further preserve the environment and prevent the effects of climate change and aims at using the bill to sell carbon credits. The proposed law is unpopular among many Rwandans who view it as an inconvenience that will make it difficult to access wood for cooking, construction, and other common uses. According to the Rwandan's Environment Ministry, tree conservation efforts have grown the country's forest cover from 10.7% in 2010 to 30.4% in 2022. The UN Security Council passed a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza for the month of Ramadan. The vote comes after 6 months of deadlock at the Council, which has primary responsibility for maintaining international peace. The resolution, winning 14 votes in favor among the 15 members of the Council, was the first Security Council resolution that demands or calls for a ceasefire in Gaza after the flare-up of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in Gaza on October 7, 2023. The United States abstained in the vote, while the remaining 14 members voted in favor. The resolution, which also called for the release of all hostages, followed several failed attempts at similar measures since the October 7th attacks. South Africa has welcomed the adoption of the UN Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And a container ship smashed into a 4-lane bridge in the U.S. port of Baltimore in darkness on Tuesday, causing it to collapse and sending cars and people plunging into the river below. Baltimore Fire Chief James Wallace has confirmed that 2 people were rescued and 1 of them had been transported to a local trauma center in a very serious condition. The U.S. Coast Guard reported the collapse at 1:27 in the morning, and crews were deployed for an active search and rescue mission after the Singapore-flagged container ship forced the trellis-like bridge up into a mangled mass of metal. However, the Baltimore Mayor, Brandon Scott, described the incident as an unthinkable, a tragedy, adding the focus right now should be on the preservation of life.
And in sports, Minister of Art, Culture and Sports, Dr. Damas Ndumbaro, believes that Simba and Young Africans will qualify for African Champions League semi-finals as the 2 teams are about to host Al Ahly and Mamelodi Sundowns at Benjamin Mkapa Stadium this weekend. Speaking to TBC News after visiting Bagamoyo Institute of Arts and Culture, Dr. Ndumbaro says Simba and Young Africans will outclass their opponents at home ground and pave a way for the 2 Tanzanian giants to the first African football semis.
We have a super weekend where 4 African giants in football will be meeting in Benjamin William Mkapa Stadium. This is a blessing because it's the only stadium to host 4 teams during this weekend in Africa. Other stadium will just be hosting 2 teams. Therefore, we are very blessed in Benjamin William Mkapa. We are very blessed as a country, but also for Simba and Yanga. There are some stories in the streets, but let me tell you that as the government, we have confidence with the Simba, we have confidence with the Yanga. We have confidence with the Simba because Simba has been playing in this level for over 10 years now. Therefore, he's not a novice. Is a giant, is the number 5 best club in Africa. But we have confidence in Yanga because Yanga played the final for Confederation Cup last year. And it's one of the best teams in Africa right now. There's no team which wants to play against Yanga now in Africa. It's the best team. Therefore, Mamelodi, they should know that they are coming to Benjamin Mkapa, one of the toughest stadiums in Africa. They should be ready psychologically to lose this game. The same for Ahly. Ahly, they know this stadium, Benjamin William Mkapa. They've lost a couple of times. The last 2 matches, they just managed a draw, but there will be no draw this time. They are going to lose, and we wish our 2 teams to be in the semi-final in this African Champions League.
Simba hosts Al Ahly on Friday, while Young Africans welcomes Mamelodi on Saturday of African Champions League quarter-finals matches at Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. Local and foreign music stakeholders say if Tanzania has its own unique rhythm, it will be part of continuing to bring great diversity and able to compete in the world music market. Speaking during the conference of the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry held in Dar es Salaam, music stakeholders say the biggest challenge in fighting the woke market is to always change the rhythm and the reality of music when it happens, while saying that the advent of artificial intelligence makes them to continue to be more creative to keep up in the speed of technology.
So the opportunity for bongo flavor to be the identifying genre for East Africa is definitely there. I don't know who's going to do the breakthrough, but that will happen. But from this perspective now,
sure that there has to be permission granted from the rights holders to be able to use any, to mimic any voice or to mimic any artistic, expression, so that we can be able to protect, the ones who have actually invested in that music, the ones who have actually given the talent.
Tanzania has hosted IFP's annual general meeting, aiming to discuss how producers and artists can benefit from the composition of their work. And that marks the end of our news bulletin for tonight. On behalf of the whole team, I'm Kanki Mwegomole, but do stay tuned for our Kiswahili news bulletin at 11 p.m. tonight. Good night.
TBC1, ukweli na uhakika.